But after I came back from Thailand, and in Thailand I ran out of money after the 9 months, to be honest, and I had no money and I didn't know what to do. I was literally down to my last few dollars, and I was sitting having checked out the reception thinking, how am I going to afford to keep living here, or I have to go home and call my father to bail me out.
True.
And that was the last thing I wanted to do, because I would have perceived to have been a failure. So I remember sitting there and I saw these young men going by dressed as monks, the Buddhist monks. So I asked them, I said, the waiter, I said, who are these guys? And they said, they're all monks. I said, but they're so young. I know they're monks, but they're doing the initiation, sir. Said, interesting. I said, how long was that, the initiation? He said, it's 6 weeks. And then I thought, I've got 6 weeks left to last on my ticket.
Okay.
I said, so where do they live? He said, in the monastery. And I said, and how do they eat? They get free food because Lord Buddha. I said, 6 weeks, free food, free accommodation. What could go wrong? I could learn Thai.
Correct.
So I literally got my bags and followed the monks. Yeah, and I got on the bus and I went to the monastery in Kwai, and the rest is history. I became a monk for 6 weeks. Yes,
and then you finished your 6 weeks and
well, everything they told you wasn't true because you were given accommodation, but they didn't tell you got to sleep on the floor.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was difficult. Yeah, I was getting clothes and organising things, and then you don't get food. Initially, they give you some, and then you have to go to beg for food.
Freaking hell.
Yes, because you've got to show humility. That's part of the teaching, So that was a great learning, actually.
How old were you
humility? Young 20s, 85. So I have to do the maths, but young 20s. And, that was a profound change in my life, In the end, I made a business out of it because I was like the only white monk. And the little kids used to go to the park and say, look at that one. And they used to feed me first, of course. I was like the 60-pound gorilla in the park. And they would feed me and I'd feed the other monks. And then I worked my way to get a mattress and a pillow. And then the last part, they teach you meditation, how to meditate, but how to leave your body.
Oh, is it?
Yes, and that's what they teach you. You've got to learn how to leave your body.
Did you?
I thought they were crazy because I was in my young 20s. I mean, how do you leave my body? What are they talking about? But then I realized, something profound, So I said, well, how can you teach me how to do this? No, we can't teach you. You can't teach anyone anything. We can take you to the fountain of knowledge, but you have to drink the water. Yeah. And we have to place you and guide you, but then the rest depends on you because it's your own journey. And some people will do and some people will not, So you sit you next to a stone wall or a brick wall. It has to be something natural or wood. Mine was stone. And then you have to imagine going out of yourself. And it doesn't work, and I couldn't keep still initially, but then 24 hours, 48 hours, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and then day turns into night, night turns into day, you forget where you are, you lose yourself, and slowly you hear a crack in your crown chakra and you're out. And then you're literally floating and looking back on yourself, And inside your crown chakra, you have what's called the pineal gland, and it has a retina. And this has like a Wi-Fi to your spirit. You can't explain it. And as you're floating in your spirit, you can see yourself. And that's a profound experience.
You experienced that?
Yes. Oh, more than once. So, but when you get there, the first thing you do is you don't chill out and everything. I was like worried with the spirit. How am I going to get back in again?
Yeah, you're out.
And then you think, how am I going to do it? Because I'm so expansive and big. I mean, how am I going to get inside again? But that's actually not so difficult. It's scary when you first do it, but you can, you just know you have to think yourself back in. And, visualize yourself back in, and you're back in, you know. So, and you can travel. That's how you have astro travel. Even military use this to look upon enemy lines. Yeah, it's a skill that very few people have. And the more we get digitalized, the more we use phones, you know, we are losing skills, you know, as human beings. Our ancestors never used to talk.
Yeah, they understood.
They had telepathy,
Correct,
you know,
correct.
and I could do that with my mother. And I remember, you know, when my father died, I was in Miami, and I was late for my flight to Venezuela. And I was just running towards the security. I'd already checked in, running to the security with my boarding card. And I saw a phone, and I stopped, frozen. And I went to the phone and called my mother, and I didn't know why. And she said, Grant, I've been standing by the phone for 1 hour telling you to call me. Your father's passed away, honestly. And I just knew to call. I didn't know why. I didn't know how. I just knew. I just called. You know, that's telepathy. And when the emotions are higher, and the meaning is higher, and the spirituality part is higher, your consciousness can think at 200 frames per second, whereas your brain can only think of like 24 to 60 frames per second. So, if you can get into your consciousness, you can, you know, you can do anything, and you can work on a telepathic telepathic level. Sorry about that. Telepathic level, and you know, and you can outthink.
So you think this? A lot of people talk about that you actually can leave your body.
Oh yes,
It's possible. Yeah?
Absolutely. And like it normally happens to people when they hit a life-changing event, a life-threatening event, I should say. You know, like an accident. Like I was in hospital last year, and it happened to me again. You know, and I'm more easy to get out now. You know, so my blood pressure on the upper range went down to 30, and the emergency response team came, and you see this bright light, and you're floating towards it, and you're so peaceful. It's a wonderful feeling. But then I heard my son.
Oh,
Not in the way that we hear. Then you know it's a vibrational frequency, and I heard it, and I knew he was in fear, and shot me back
to come
in.
back, yeah.
I said, no, I'm not ready to go, you know.
Yeah.
And I came back in again, but that's when it happened only last July again. So this happens. But going back to your original question, so I got back to Thailand, and then I ended up traveling more, and I've been to 161 countries and lived in 30. So I was not into the cruise industry till 1999. I was living in Venezuela, and I was become somewhat of a millionaire in Venezuela.
okay.
I had a hotel. I was invested into a small hotel. I was invested into a casino, amongst other partners, and you know, I invested in companies, music, a band. I had a couple of bands, and also property there. But then they had the Bolivarian Revolution, and you know, I had to go. Chavez had a lista, the Imperialista, the list of imperialists. And I thought I was on the list. I wasn't sure, so I didn't take any chances. And,
So you left
but they
Venezuela.
nationalized the hotel, and they changed the laws to the casino. And all the business went down, and I had to go. And I'm sitting on the beach, not knowing what to do, and thinking, oh, I've got to work again.